All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show that has no name. I'm your host, Parker Shirazi, and we're basically going to do a Matt Farah one-take style car review video, okay? And to start, I brought my E46 sedan. It's a BMW E46 325i, manufactured in December of 2001 for model year 2002, so that means it has the facelift. And let's go on a drive. Let me explain everything better on the road. All right. In terms of options, she comes with the premium package, which gives you heated power leather seats, rain sensing windshield wipers. Geez, not very good in the dirt. Rain sensing windshield wipers. What else does it come with? Anything else important? I can't really think of anything else that's super important that I'm missing. Those are the two real big ones, though: the power seats and the rain sensing windshield wipers. Comes with a few. Oh yeah, the moonroof. It's a tough one. I really can't remember off the top of my head. A few other, doodads and whatnot. Nothing really important. Let's see. So yeah, she has the premium package and the automatic transmission, and that's about it. Not really many other options that you could get with these cars. Of course, the one option I really wish she did have was the sport package. That gave you really nice beefy seats and different wheels, tires, and a firmer suspension. But she doesn't have it, and that's okay. You can always add it in later. Right, so let me go over reasons why this is actually the perfect beginner's driver's car. So if you want to get into the world of performance driving and you don't want to spend large amounts of money, this is it. I'll explain why. So, first off, looks. I'll put a picture of it right here. This thing really is just gorgeous. It's timeless. There's something about the E46 that makes it look very modern, even though the first ones came out 20 years ago. During the time of this filming. So it looks absolutely fantastic. Second off, power. The E46 325i, I believe, is the perfect driver's car because it's powerful, but it's not overpowered. Underneath the hood, you get BMW's M54B25, which is a 2.5 liter straight six that makes 184 horsepower in the US spec. The Europeans got the better one at 190 something. The reason why we got shorted was because BMW decided to make the tune a little bit more conservative due to the varying grades of petrol found in this wonderful nation. Because in Europe, they all have the high quality stuff, whereas here, well, it's mixed. What can I say? Right, so that covers that. So yeah, it's not overpowered, but it's pretty fast. I mean, you can't really kill yourself with this thing, which is good, but it's more than fast enough to, not leave you wanting extra power all the time, unlike some other so-called performance cars. Right. So, it's pretty powerful, looks pretty good. They're really cheap. I'm not kidding. E46 3 Series BMWs start at like $1,500, which is what I paid for this one because she was broken initially. And they range all the way up to like $7,000 for like the absolute cleanest of examples. Of course, there is the $12,000 outlier. That's the 330i with the ZHP, but I believe that's a topic best covered some other time. Let's see. So yeah, they're pretty cheap, really cheap. You can get a nice condition one of these things for like $5,000-$6,000. One of my dealer friends is actually selling his, which unfortunately doesn't have the power seats, but only has 80,000 miles on it. He's selling it for $7,000. Pretty good deal. All right, what else? They're really safe too. There are airbags literally everywhere. I got an airbag in front of me. Passenger has an airbag. There's side curtain airbags. There's airbags all over the bloody place. So you're pretty safe. If you do decide to leave the road for whatever dumb reason, which you really can't because these things handle really, really well. Like, I don't even know how far I'm pushing it, but I'm not pushing it very hard, and this is with the stock suspension and, all no-season tires. Okay, this is a little bit weird. So yeah, they handle pretty good. What else is there to cover? I mean, do I really need to continue my sales pitch? You already know what to do. Now, there are a few downsides to it. Your insurance won't like it, because insurance companies don't like anything that isn't an automatic CRV. you know, the kind your mom drives. Why? Because they're anti-fun. They're not very fun people, to say the least. That, and of course the fuel bill. Your MPG will be replaced with something I call SPG, or miles per gallon, because you'll get a lot of those. You won't really get too many MPGs. I'm averaging, according to the car's computer, about 17 miles per gallon mixed. Of course, you know, that figure jumps up exponentially if you're going on the freeway. When I had my older one, I had like another one of these things a few years ago. That thing was doing nearly 30 MPG going to LA at speeds that are Autobahn appropriate. We'll leave it at that. I'm not going to incriminate myself on live TV. Well, it's not live, but you see. Covered really basically everything. Yeah, that's the only real downside. Now, of course, you know, I can already imagine people saying, "Ew, Parker, what about the maintenance and all that other stuff?" All right, well, maintenance is a little tricky one. Generally, the rule of thumb is the more you pay up, you know, the more you pay for a car up front, the cheaper it will be to maintain it, because it's better looked after, right? And generally has fewer miles. It's the way it works. That really is a tricky one. I did some Googling. Some people say they spend like $2,000 per year maintaining these things. Some people say they spend as little as $400. The answer really is it depends, and it also just depends what you want out of it. If you're looking to do basic, you know, Toyota like maintenance of, you know, just oil changes every once in a while, yeah, you won't spend very much money, but the thing won't be, you know, a BMW. If you want a true BMW, you got to pay a little bit more. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Of course, that's really not that much of a problem because you're not paying that much, and you're really not paying that much if you have a job, which I encourage you to get one if you don't, because I'm working retail right now, and if I can afford to maintain this thing in the pretty good condition it's in, then you can too. Of course, my particular example has a few little problems with it. One of them, which is extremely irritating for me, is the squeaky brake pedal. Let me see if you guys can hear it. There's a stop sign up ahead. Hold on just a sec. Oh, no, it's not squeaking anymore. Why? I don't know. Let's see, there's that. That's really kind of it. It's the only real problem. Oh, yeah, there's also a very slight play in the steering. Like, when it's at the top, the resistance is a little low, rather lower than it should be. I'll have to look into that. I read that it's a $50 part that sits at the bottom of the steering rack that you can actually change yourself pretty easily. I just haven't gotten around to it because of a lack of time and a lack of money. Sorry. That's it, really. Those are the two main issues affecting mine, but one big issue that affects all of these, and, you know, it's only an issue nowadays because of how technology advances, is the fact that the stock BMW radio has no auxiliary or USB input for your phone. Now, you could replace it with an aftermarket unit, but the question is, which aftermarket unit do you get? A. B, is that really such a good idea? Because aftermarket units in general are, to me, very, very ugly. They really are pardon my French. They really are hideous. I mean, there's just something about them that looks cheap. And when you have a car as beautiful as this thing, then it just doesn't do it, you know? So I'll have to get back to you as to how I'm going to fix that. I hear there are some aftermarket stereo companies, such as Blaupunkt, which is made in Germany, that actually don't look absolutely atrocious. So, I mean, there's that. You can always do that. The question, again, becomes how much do you want to spend and how much time and effort do you have for these things. Now, here's some buying tips I have if you were to buy one of these things, which you really, really should. I mean, you know, they made 4 million of these cars. There's a reason why they did, because they are just absolutely fantastic. Hell, even Car and Driver had it on their top 10 list. All 6, well, we got it for 7 years, all 7 years of production in the United States. So, what should you buy? Now, if you have the choice between a 325i and a 330i, I would probably still get the 325i over the 330. 330, especially in our price bracket. The reason why is you can buy a much nicer 325i than a comparable 330i, and then you can use the leftover money for, you know, mods that really do upgrade the novice driver's performance, such as tires, brakes, wheels, things like that. Useful things, okay? That being said, the one thing you really want, if you can find it, is option code ZSP. That's the sport package. As I mentioned earlier, you get an upgraded suspension, you get much beefier side seats. I'll have to show you my E92. It has the sport package, and those seats really are to die for, dude. They are just absolutely amazing. And let's see, what's the last thing it comes with? Oh yeah, bigger wheels and tires. Okay, that's just going to cost you more money, but the bigger wheels will give you a much nicer, you know, they're fatter, so you'll get a little bit more grip in the corners, which is really what matters, because, you know, any idiot can go fast in a straight line. The magic of these things comes in roads like this, where you actually have real corners that you have to navigate through. In terms of automatic or manual, that's a tough one. I would say, what would I say? All right, normally I'm against automatics, okay? I really think they are designed for people who, they're designed for people who are either missing an arm or a leg or half of their brain. Usually people aren't missing arms or legs nowadays, so you can kind of guess what, you know, where I'm going with this, okay? That being said, Steptronic actually is a very good automatic. I'm actually really surprised on how decent it is. It's smooth. It's pretty quick. It's about as quick as me, because I'm a beginning manual driver in terms of shifting gears. So it's fast enough. So it really boils down to this, okay? And this is why you should get the stick. The only reason why you want the automatic is if you want something fun, but you live in a crappy place like San Francisco where there are a lot of hills, a lot of stop and go, and people are dumbasses and they always ride your ass, okay? But that's not really the car's fault. I'd say that's your fault for living in such a shizer place to begin with. You shouldn't, you know, my dad put it really nicely, if you can't drive your car there without worrying about something happening to it, that's not a place you want to hang around, okay? That really is. You know what? We're going to stop at this stop sign for fun. There's no reason to. It's the only reason why the stop sign exists is because the road is too narrow for, you know, two people to pass, but we'll stop. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, there really is, there's no reason to, you know, live in a place like that. And if you live in a place like that, my best recommendation is to upgrade your life and get the hell out of there. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'd say go for the stick. It's more fun. The BMW shifters actually are very nice. You know, maybe the older ones are a little bit sloppy. One of my friends that works at this t-shirt company called Blip Shift, his name's Daniel, he has an E30 325i. He says, you know, anyone who drives the older BMW shifters knows they're kind of sloppy, but I don't know. I can vouch for the E46. I've driven like a few stick ones. I can definitely vouch for the E92. That thing is notchy as the Miata. But the point is, get the stick. Trust me, you'll be happier with the stick. It's more exciting. It's more engaging. It's just more interesting. You know, can you see my hood? No, you can't. All right, there. So we adjusted the camera. Now, my favorite part, of course, with these things, damned experience. And it sounds like this that you just can't get in a modern car. Actually, you know, not break the law too badly here. You know, you just can't get things like this. My E92, it's a nice car, it really is. But the problem I have with it is it's just so quiet. This is the perfect combination of loudness and not loudness, because it's not loud enough to actually irritate you on the freeway, but it's loud enough to give you that, you know, that sensory satisfaction. Which of course brings me to the next reason. You're getting this car because you like cars. And that really brings me to the next question, or rather point. Why do we like cars? Well, the answer is really simple. You like cars because you're a person that values real-world experience over screens. Because in today's world, we're moving away from the real, the tactile, the auditory, the visual, to fake experiences, okay? I'm gonna, obviously I mean things like Oculus Rift and, the other VR systems, which literally take you into a non-real world. But beyond that, I also mean just, the way we interact in general. If you notice, a lot of people are spending more and more of their time on social media, which is, of course, the exact opposite of a real world. Instead of going to a social event, they spend it, puttering around on social media for whatever reason, okay? The car, and the reason why I think the car is under attack from a lot of people is because it's the exact opposite of that. It's real. You can touch it. You can smell it. You can even taste it if you really wanted to, although I don't recommend that. You can hear it, and you can definitely feel it. Now, of course, I'm not going to get too much into politics for my first episode. Okay, that's not really appropriate. And truth be told, again, this is like, as I said earlier, it's like a one take. I don't have a script. I don't even know how the audio is going to sound because I'm hoping the iPhone's microphone is better than the GoPro's, because the GoPro is very, very disappointing. During the one time I tried to shoot with my dad's Pontiac Solstice, but that of course was convertible. We had the windows down, the top down. This thing, it's a pretty quiet luxury sedan, so I'm hoping things are a little bit better. But yeah, the reason why you should get this car, it's one car to do it all. It's one other allocate I could add to the credit side of the E46 is that it's very practical. I mean, I got 5 seats here. I can fill them up with people sitting 6 foot tall or, standing 6 feet tall, and they can fit very comfortably. So it's the one car that you really can take from the racetrack or, to the racetrack and then also drop your kids off in school. It's pretty cheap to run, looks great, and it's a companion, really. That's another thing that makes this car stand out to me compared to all the other nowadays cars. Nowadays cars are really more like appliances. You buy them, you use them, you throw them away. But this thing, these older cars, they're companions. They're things that, they aren't the most reliable in the world, but they're sure as hell durable. And you're going to keep it for many years because of that. If you go to my website, which I'll put, in the description below, I have an article there talking about, how you can afford a German car and a retail salary, and there I do discuss the differences between reliable and durable. All right, and if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to, spend the time, you want to listen to me instead talk about it, I'll go ahead and say it right here. The difference is something that's durable isn't the most reliable. It will break from time to time, but you can fix it and then you can get it right back on the road, or in this case, the road. Something that's reliable, like your iPhone, will work headache-free for, during its service life, and then afterwards it will break, and you're expected to throw it away and buy a new one. You see, that's the thing. Durable things are much better, in my opinion, than reliable things, because durable things last. They're better for the environment because the only thing you need to do is manufacture parts. You don't need to manufacture whole new ones. And do I really need to go on? That's actually a really tight corner. Oh, another really nice thing about this thing for good first-time drivers is it does have traction control, or rather dynamic stability control, they like to call it. And it works. It really works. It's very hard to kill yourself with this thing, which is a hell of a lot nicer than my Miata, which doesn't have that. I actually spun out in this road once. That was embarrassing. I really wish I had my GoPro with me at the time. Because, I wanted to see which corner it was, so that way I don't do it again. But I digress. I hope you don't hear that sliding around. Let me pull over and try to, tuck some things in, so that way you don't have to hear as much of that noise. That box you're hearing, or the thing sliding around, is a power splitter, because this car unfortunately only has one cigarette lighter socket, and I need that to power my iPhone, but I also need to power my radar detector, and which you will need with this car because it's tuned for Autobahn speeds. And, you know, I'm saying that again because it's true. Hold on, you know, we're going to stop right here. Break up. See if I can just shove this in this. Oh, okay, wait, maybe I can't. Can I? Okay, there we go. That shouldn't move around anymore. Let's go. You know what? It's actually getting really warm in here. Let's kill the heater. Actually, no, let's not kill the heater. We're just going to turn it all the way down to 59 degrees, and we're going to put the fresh air on. All right, let's go. Oh yeah, that's another cool thing. You know, the digital temperature display is kind of nice. I mean, the only problem I have with it is you can't use it blind. You know, you have to actually look at it to see what temperature you're selecting, which is kind of irritating. The E92, or the E9X rather, I should say, fixed that, but that's a review for another day, really. I kind of covered everything I wanted to cover. There's going to be a companion article posted with this video. I should have it up by that time. You can go ahead and give it a read as to why I think this thing is good. And, well, that's really it. It's really, oh, wow, this is a tight one. There we go. See, it pulls through with flying colors. This thing handles absolutely like a dream. No wonder Car and Driver loved it so much. It sounds so good too. I mean, it's really kind of amazing on how well BMW engineered this thing. Of course, oh, yeah, there's another thing I should add. This really is the last of the mechanical 3 series. The E9X generation that followed changed a whole lot of things to electronics, and that's not good for you because if things break, you either have to pay the dealership or you have to pay a mechanic to fix it because you can't fix it yourself because you don't have the computers required to do so. Like, for example, the water pump. The water pump on this thing is completely mechanical, and you'll have quite a bit of warning before it goes bad. The water pump on the E9X is electronic, or rather electric, and you will have no warning before that goes bad, except the computer screaming at you, telling you to pull over because your car is about to overheat. Oops. What are these guys doing? Looks like they're getting in their TRD Tacoma. You know what? We're going to stop at this stop sign, even though the other side doesn't actually go anywhere. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so since it's completely mechanical, for example, if I wanted to get the sport seats in my car, which I do, the only thing I have to do is find a pair and, you know, swap the frame rails and you're done. Because, you know, that's the part of the seat that makes it powered. It's a rail, right? So the only thing you have to do is if you find non-powered, you know, seats, you just simply take the frame off and put it on the new sport seats and put the bolts right back in, and then there you go, you got sport seats, right? Oh, traction control cut in there. Thank you, traction control. Yeah, completely mechanical. Pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see, I guess we could discuss what mods I've done with this thing. I've done nothing. Just saying. I've done quite literally just cosmetics, and a whole lot of cosmetics is just making it look the way I like it. Mods that are pretty cheap and that you can definitely do would be tires. Oh, yeah, no, I remember now what the last thing the sports package comes with. Instead of this 4-spoke steering wheel, it comes with a 3-spoke, you know, slightly smaller steering wheel, which I actually recommend just because it feels a lot nicer than this one. This one's a little bit on the big side. I mean, it's not too big. It's not big enough to irritate you. It's just a little bit too big, like ever. So we covered really all of that. So yeah, get the sports package you can. Buy this car if you can. There's no reason not to. They built 4 million, as I mentioned way earlier. BMW built 4 million of these things. You can get it however the hell you like. Let's say you want a convertible with a stick and the premium and sport packages. You can definitely find that. You know, one thing that you can't really find though, unfortunately, is the wagon. If you can find the wagon, especially with a stick, I say go ahead and buy it. Just sit on it simply because it'll become a cult classic later. Oh god. One nice thing about this car is you definitely have ample room to pass. You have ample power, rather. Passing in the Miata, especially on roads like this, is extremely scary simply because it takes too long. If you want to make a pass like this, you have to do it very, very fast. That being said, again, we're on camera, so we're not going to do that. It's a double yellow line. You're really not supposed to do that. But, you know, people do a lot of things they're not supposed to do. I once saw the statistic that said the average American is a felon 3 times a day, because there's just so many laws on the books that you don't know about, that you're breaking. Again, I'm not going to commentate on that. What I will comment on, though, is just how nice and quiet this cabin is from outside noise. With a Miata, you kind of get used to it rattling like a bus because the fit and finish was just such poor quality. But this thing, well, it upholds the BMW name pretty well. Fit and finish is very nice. There's nothing that's, besides the squeaky brake pedal, there's nothing, that's really that broken on this particular car that I can name. She's nearly hitting 150,000 miles too. Oh yes, that's another thing you can do to lower your maintenance bill. Keep up with regular, maintenance intervals. BMW does have a service interval called Service 1, Service 2. You can find checklists online, or of course, I'm going to put it on my website so you guys can see that, as well. But it's really just inspecting things and changing, basic consumables like brake pads, rotors, spark plugs, air filters. That's how you keep these things running in peak condition. You just simply stay on top of the maintenance, which isn't that expensive. Especially, if you just get... Oh, that's another thing you shouldn't do. Don't buy cheap parts with these cars, because that becomes expensive. When I got this car, it was misfiring pretty badly, and one of the reasons why is because the previous owner used generic Chinese, crappy camshaft position sensors. I put some OEM ones in, and it works pretty well. Of course, by OEM, I don't mean, genuine BMW, which to me is just a marketing stick to stick it deeper where the sun doesn't shine, if you catch my drift. What I mean is, if you go to websites such as Pelican Parts or SSF Auto Parts, which you probably can't access because you're not a wholesaler, they will actually tell you the OEM manufacturer for every single part of the car. So for example, let's say for the camshaft position sensor, you can buy one from Delphi or from Bosch or from Jurid or some other different companies. But for example, Bosch was the OEM manufacturer for this one, so I bought the Bosch one, which is the exact same thing as the genuine BMW one, and except it only costs half as much. So there you go. Save money, buy not genuine parts, but OEM parts, and then you'll be fine. I guess that's I really need to stop saying that. Another way you can save money is simply by knowing people. If you know a decent, BMW mechanic that's good and doesn't charge too much, then you'll basically be set. For example, I go to Auto Ryzen in Concord. Peter is a fantastic mechanic. His rates are pretty attractive. But the real thing is, notice the first thing I said first was that he's a fantastic mechanic. I mentioned that because if you give these cars to incompetent people to work on, people who aren't really familiar with BMWs, then they'll do a botchy job of it. And, I got a merge in here. Let's get into the fast lane. This BMW is not going to let me. Hello, E46 Cabriolet. And this guy actually managed to deface his BMW by putting a bumper sticker on it. Alright, here's another thing I want you to do if you were to buy one of these cars. Don't put bumper stickers on them, because they're extremely tasteless and they just ruin it. I mean, come on, think about it. A designer spent hundreds of hours designing every single curvature of your vehicle, okay? They put a lot of time and effort into the curvatures, the colors, everything about the car. And then you ruin it by putting a tasteless, tacky political bumper sticker on it. I mean, what's the point, dude? You don't do that kind of thing if you have a car that's worth driving, okay? You just don't. about 30 minutes in. It's a good place to end it, I suppose. We'll end it as soon as we stop, though. Maybe if something else comes to my mind. Oh, yeah, here's another thing that's coming to my mind. Americans cannot drive on freeways. For example, I'm in the fast lane right now, and there are people blocking my path. That shouldn't be the case. That's not how this whole system works. The whole system is you stay on the right unless you want to pass, and you go to the left. Americans, though, just think they're both for cruising, and if you want to go any faster than that, well, F you. You're not more important than me, so I'm just going to go ahead and brake check you, because that's safe. You can't fix stupid. One thing you definitely cannot do is fix people's stupidity, because, as Albert Einstein said, that's the only other thing that's infinite in this very finite universe. Finite? Finite? I'm not sure. I'll throw that out. But yeah, another thing I guess I could talk about now is just, the recording system I've got going here. I'm using one GoPro Hero Session to record me, and my iPhone 6s's rear-facing camera to record the road ahead. The reason why I chose to do it this way instead of the other way around is because the iPhone's front camera is only good for 720p at 30 FPS, whereas the rear camera can do 1080p at 60. B, the little glass screen protector I have that, covered it is kind of getting old now. So there's a diffraction effect because the glass has an air pocket between it and the camera, and that doesn't look very good at all. That's one thing I need to do, actually, is get my iPhone 6s serviced. To me, it's one of the very few phones I really care to own, because it does everything, it really does everything I want it to do, and nothing I don't. So what I need to do is you can just get like a new battery for it. It's $30, I believe, at the Apple Store. I'll have to make a call for it this year. You get that and get the screen repaired, and I'll be good for another few years, which is absolutely fantastic, really. Another thing I guess I could talk about is this trim. You notice my car is complete aluminum trim. Originally, the premium package by default comes with this wood trim, and wood trim really looks awful. It's like an old guy would drive a car with wood trim, right? When I think of wood trim, I think of like Jaguars and other old rich people things. It's tasteless, really. A sporting sedan like this needs the aluminum trim because it's sporty, and that's, to me, is the image BMW should be projecting, instead of the one they're currently projecting as basically trying to be a Lexus competitor, because that's not going to end well for BMW. But yeah, and who am I, right? Speaking of the devil. Let's see. You know what? We're just gonna do some point of view driving from here, so I'll be quiet for the rest of the show. Thanks, guys, and if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe, like it, comment if you want on what you want me to talk about next, because I always like ideas. Whoa, we're stopping. So I always like ideas on what to talk about. There are plenty of things we could talk about, and if you want to hear my opinion on it, just drop me a line, comments below, and next video we'll talk about it. Okay, thank you again, and enjoy the rest of this very peaceful point of view drive.